Hello, very good afternoon. Welcome to the Pulse on the Joy News channel on Multi TV. And coming up in the next 2 hours, the prices of spare parts drop by at least 30% at the Abossey market here in Accra. But what is it down to? We will fill you in as traders get optimistic. Also, local government looks to make the good use of the latest district league table as the South Tongue district emerges bottom of that list. We have the details and a breakdown for you. Plus, in local politics today, we head to the Tema West constituency. The MP-elect Carlos Ahenkra is my guest today on The Pulse. All that and more in the next 2 hours here on the show. My name is Francis Allen. Grab that chair, sit down, and let's get started. And as always, your views and comments are welcome on this show. Look for us on our social media handles, Joy News on TV, on Facebook, and on Twitter. We will be glad to share your thoughts with the rest of the world. We begin with some politics today because the national chairman of the NDC, Kofi Potofie, says security agencies must, as a matter of urgency, take immediate steps to stop the continuous harassment and attacks suffered by its members in the hands of NPP supporters. Addressing a news conference today, Chairman Kofi Potofie mentioned, among others, the harassment meted out to members of parliament Hannah Bessiew and Benita Okiti-Dua and her mother. He is more angry about the allegations made against his party and says this must stop.
The NPP have been officially declared winners of the elections. And yet, we are recording very worrying cases of violence by their supporters and activists across the entire country. As I speak to you now, the following incidents have been recorded in various parts of the country. An attack on Wofake, a popular actor who featured in most of NDC's campaign adverts. Attack and killing of NDC supporter Adunkwa Onofin. The stabbing of an NDC youth activist at the Kwame Nkrumah interchange. Attacks on party supporters at Chebi in the Eastern region and in different parts of the Ashanti and Northern regions. The burning of toll booths in Fiapre in the Brong-Ahafo region and the seizure of toll tickets and monies. Attack on the NDC communication officer in Sunyani West, who was forced out of his office at the National Health Insurance Secretariat. Illegally taking over the tourist center at the Kwame Nkrumah interchange. Forceful takeover of the jobs of caterers of school feeding programs perceived to be NDC supporters. The destruction of the offices of the municipal chief executive at Ejura in Ashanti region. Harassing, severely beating, and injuring many NDC supporters on our university campuses and other tertiary institutions and in our communities. We have many of them displaced from the schools that we have had to look for accommodation for. Many of them have been forced out of Kumasi. They are here in Accra, and we are taking care of them in hotels. Besieging and looting the warehouses and stores of NADMO in Tamale by hoodlums of the NPP. Raiding the head office of NADMO in Accra, chasing out the acting national coordinator, Brigadier Zanziri, and staff of NADMO at their offices, and subjecting the Brigadier General to searches by hoodlums. Barricading the offices of the YEA program headquarters in Accra. Violent attacks on the homes of several members of the NDC, including the West Legon residence of the national chairman of the NDC, myself, by demonstrators who were carrying and displaying pictures of Nanado and the MP for that constituency, Honorable Ajaku. Cordoning off of the homes of individual artists and performers and some media personnel who are perceived as sympathizers of the NDC and preventing them from carrying out their normal duties. Shameful attack on Ms. Bell at midnight by suspected members of the MPP carrying assault rifles and a video camera and demanding that she apologize to Nana Addo for comments during the campaign. This dehumanizing experience has forced Ms. Bell to vacate her private residence and seek refuge elsewhere. Shameful attacks on the contractors and workers at the Kwame Nkrumah interchange, popularly known as Ghana Dubai, has brought work to a standstill there. The pity of it all is the destruction of the colorful lights from the water fountain that flows to the admiration of all. And almost every NDC member cannot move peacefully now with our paraphernalia on our car.
So we've heard from the national chairman of the NDC, Mr. Kofi Potofie there, but it didn't end there with the instances he's given of the attacks on some people who are members of their party. But he goes on to explain what their response would be if the attacks don't stop.
Agencies are doing well for all intents and purposes to bring peace to bear on our society. That does not prevent us from cataloging and bringing to the attention of Ghanaians and the international community that these are criminal acts and that they must be stopped. We need the media to support this call. And that's why we brought you here.
The churches, religious.
We need the churches. We need civil society. We need chiefs. We need even the pretenders to know today that an end must come to this violence. That if it happened in Sierra Leone, if it happened in Liberia, Cote d'Ivoire, it can happen in Ghana. Unless we all make some concerted effort. Who said all that be die?
Who said it?
Who called on the people in the MPP to pick Wamafu?
Thank you.
Is it NDC?
Power at all costs.
No, I mean, let's be serious, my friend. I've listed acts of violence, brigadiering, and killing. And you say that we are stage managing it. Respect us a little.
Thank you.
And the security agencies have been doing very well to bring peace to bear on this activity. But we want to say in very clear, unequivocal terms that anybody who tries it after 7th January will not have it easy with the NDC at all.
Well, that's not the only issue Mr. Potofie spent time addressing today. He also asked the communicators of the party to stop the attacks on each other on different media platforms.
Those of them who are going on the radio stations or are being lured by some stations to make statements that are not in keeping with the norms of our party should desist from doing it. It's let's meet at our branches, our constituencies, regions, and national, and resolve our problems. The leadership of the party abhors individuals going onto stations and making all kinds of remarks. I want to warn that nobody must go on the radio station and attack each other, and that we should use our own systems, constitutionally by our party, to seek redress.
Defeat is painful.
And that we must begin to consider that in the next 4 years, NDC must come back to power.
So that was Mr. Kofi Potofie speaking today at that news conference addressing a host of issues. But that issue regarding the attacks on their members is something we want to interrogate a bit further. Let's speak to Superintendent Cephas Arthur. He is the Director of Public Affairs of the Ghana Police Service. Thank you, sir, for joining us here on the Pulse. First of all, have the concerns the party is raising today about the attacks on the amendments come to your attention?
Yeah, thank you. I say good afternoon to your viewers. Indeed, some concerns have come to the attention of the police. You know about the attacks that are being carried out by some political party supporters across the country or in certain parts of the country. Same has come to the attention of the police administration, and efforts have been made to quell them. Efforts must have been made to chase the perpetrators. Efforts have been made to bring perpetrators to book. So yes, the concerns, not exactly what he's saying, because I didn't even hear what he said. But you know, concerns about people attacking others, attacking their opponents, people also vandalizing public property and other things. All these have come to the attention of the police, and we are doing a lot about it.
Okay, then I'll need to ask for the specifics, Mr. Arthur, at this point. Which case are you investigating, and what have you found so far?
Okay, we are on cases like what happened at Fiapre in the Bronaf region, where some people went and bent down the toll booths. In that case, 2 persons have been arrested and have been put before court. The 2 have been granted bail. We are also talking about Sankori or Kukum, where some supporters also attack supporters of another party. And then in that case, 1 person has been arrested and he has been remanded in prison custody. Then we are also talking about a case in Chufupraso, where somebody is alleged to have attacked a member belonging to another political party and inflicting wounds on the person. Then there was a reprisal attack from the victim's party, and 3 persons involved in this case, the attack and the counter-attack, have been arrested and they have been put before court. All the 3 have been granted court bail pending further investigation. We have also arrested somebody, one Al-Hassan Ganamati Atta, in connection with the death of another person at Dunkonofin. So in all, I can say that about 8 persons have been arrested in connection with these incidents across the country, and we are looking for the others.
Now, we were told by the national chairman of the NDC, Kofi Potoffi, that 1 person has actually died as a result of these attacks. Is the police aware of this? Is this true?
I am aware of about at least 1 person dying. I just mentioned the Dunkanofin incident, during which 1 person is alleged to have died. In fact, our information also is that another person has died in a different case. So yes, we are aware, and that is why it's music to the ears that somebody has been picked in connection with the Dunkanofin incident. One Al-Hassan Ganamati attack has been picked in connection with that case, and we are proceeding with the case so we get to its logical conclusion. We are not leaving any loose end untied. We are going to bring all the strands together as far as the incidents, attacks, and other things are concerned in connection with this election. We are not going to rest on our oars until we bring every perpetrator to book. You can run, but you cannot hide.
Well, the rhetoric we're hearing from the NDC today is that it's becoming one too many. They will retaliate in full force if care is not taken. How do you respond to that?
I will caution restraint. I will caution restraint. If it isn't a case that the police are not doing anything about it, I've just enumerated a few cases to you and your listeners and the general public. And so I think it has got to their hearing also. I will advise caution, I'll advise restraint. It's not for them as a party to exact punishment. It is for the courts. And somebody may want to go their way only when the law enforcement agencies are not doing anything about their plight. But here is the case. We are doing a lot about it. 8 persons have been arrested, and we are going ahead to ensure that we bring every perpetrator to book. So if they try anything to go on rampage themselves, they will also be inflicting on the law. and the long arms of the law will catch up with them. So I will advise that they exercise maximum restraint and look up to the security services, and also assist us with the requisite information to enable us pick up perpetrators.
Now, has the leadership of the NDC met, say, the IGP or the leadership of your office to discuss this matter?
Not that I know of yet. In the aftermath of the election, no, not that I know of yet. But before the election, we held a number of meetings with the political leadership of the various political parties, and we did so with the NDC also.
Mm. Now, in all of this, one thing we need to clear out, Mr. Arthur, is this. The NDC say all these attacks have the NPP behind it. The NPP says we have nothing to do with this. In your own independent investigation as the Ghana Police Service, who is behind these attacks?
Criminals are behind these attacks. We are not looking for any political party doing whatever. It is not that which is triggering or which is necessitating police arrest or which is necessitating arrest. It is the act of criminality which is necessitating. So we are not looking at political colors. We are looking at who is doing what and what is being done. In that
spirit, then who are the masterminds behind these things? I'm sure you can give us the names, can't you?
Well, I can say that in one case, the Fiapre case, one person called Assemblyman Mactete is one of them. The second person's name I cannot immediately. One something by name alias Anointing. Is it Bismarck Asari alias Anointing? Then a few names when we come to the Chifu Praso, we have a name like Atta Ganamati Al Hassan is also one of them. Unfortunately, I don't have my list with me, but we have names behind this. That is why we'll be able to put them before court.
Okay, now the party, and by that I mean the NDC, is asking that the President-elect Nana Akufo-Addo speaks directly to this matter to his supporters to stop this. Will that help the police and the work you're doing to restore order?
I know that already the various political leaders, including the ruling government and then the party-elect or the president-elect, have all come out to denounce some of these things and warn their followers to desist from acts like this since they border on criminality. I think it has helped matters, but they must take their commitment one pitch forward. They must take their commitment one pitch forward.
By doing what?
Hello?
By doing what, Mr. Arthur?
Well, anything that will get them being impressed upon to desist, because it looks as if, irrespective of the call, some acts of criminality are still going on. Perhaps the call has assuaged or mitigated the intensity and the rapidity. But for now, I can say that it hasn't totally eliminated it. So anything that they can do to ensure that it is brought to a total end, that is what I'm calling for.
Once you say one step forward, can you suggest what exactly they can do?
Well, I'm just a security officer. But anything at all, that if they themselves can come out, for instance, if they themselves can come out and condemn any of their own that they know have undertaken or embarked on some of these escapades, if they can come out and condemn them and denounce them, well, that will also help. And any other thing, they know better.
All right. Thank you for your time, Superintendent Sefa Sartha, for your time this afternoon. Director of Public Affairs for the Ghana Police Service, giving us their thoughts on this incident and the development we're seeing today after the NDC's press conference. We'll go for a break now. When we come back, we'll do some local politics. We'll head to the Tema West constituency. They have an MP elect, but what's the plan for the next 4 years for the people in this constituency? Details after the break. Stay with us. You're welcome back to the Pulse on the Joy News channel on Multi TV. Let's now do some local politics. Yes, we know the results have come through. We know who the president-elect is, but 150 new faces are appearing in Parliament for the next session, which begins January 7, 2017. One of the constituencies that has a new face walking into Parliament is Tema West. The old face we know is Natoshi Ado, but we have a new person, and he is Carlos Ahinkra. He's seeking to work for the people for the next 4 years after winning the parliamentary elections. Let's begin to appreciate first why he even wants to do it and what the grand plan is for the people in this area. If you are in the constituency as we speak and you have questions, you can put us on our social media handles, or join us on TV, on Facebook, and on Twitter. We'll be glad to have him directly answer your questions for you. But in that election, in the parliamentary elections, Mr. Carlos Ahinkra, Kingsley Carlos Ahinkra, won 44,579 votes, representing 59.52% against James Enu of the NDC, who had 29,742, which represents 39.71%. And then the PPP's Marshal Dogbache got 404 votes. I can give you the other breakdowns later, but the two main contenders, you've seen the numbers already and what it looks like. Well, he joins us now in the studio. Mr. Ahinkra, thank you for coming today.
Thank you very much.
Are you happy winning this?
Let me say good afternoon to everybody. Of course, yes, I am very, very happy for the numbers and for winning.
This is your first time on winning a seat.
First time of contesting.
What was the experience?
It was very challenging, especially if you look at the troubles that we went through in the run-up to the primaries. We had to deal with a whole lot of situations where...
What situations? I'm curious to know.
Well, of course, the sitting MP would not just allow the seat to just go freely. And of course, it was expected that you don't get things freely from people when you decide to get them. They will give you a run for your money, and that's essentially what
Okay, you mean
happened.
for the primaries?
For the primaries.
But after the primaries, have you and her patched up?
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, there's no problem. She raised my hand on the platform to tell everybody that we no more having any troubles, like votes. She was going to vote for me, vote for Nanado. So there wasn't any situations that I could, think of that was negative. But, presumably, yes, she wasn't happy that the seat was going to get away from her. So there was this initial tussle. But after the primaries, I think we just didn't look left or right. We just looked forward and decided to do what we got to do, and we are here.
Okay. Now, after the primaries, the party made it clear that you are the candidate for the constituency. Was she part of your campaign?
I would say yes and no. Yes, because she did some campaign for the party, but no, because she was not part of my group. She was not part of my team. I think that she had her own way of doing things, and probably she wanted to go that way, and I appreciate it. I don't have any qualms about that at all.
Okay. Now that you have the seat in your hands, January 7, you will begin work. What's your big plan for your people in this constituency? Why, first of all, do you want to become MP?
Well, I have said this before, that my thinking of becoming an MP, first and foremost, lies in the idea of putting myself in a position to influence policy. You will realize that the people who get into parliament are given some kind of leverage to, as it were, belong to committees that would adjudicate or that would promulgate laws for enactment on the floor of parliament. Now, if you have a professional touch or professional know-how in this subject or in these areas, it gives the law some kind of life or some kind of meat. When people who don't have the know-how sit down and promulgate laws, what happens is you would come up with a law which sometimes is unimplementable. A typical example is the ASHI that the Ghana Shippers Authority once upon a time there to just throw down the throat of importers. When that law was coming to the fore, I was the president of Ghana Institute of Freight Forwarders, and I fought that this law is not implementable, it is not acceptable, we are not going to allow this law to hold. Unfortunately, my strength was just this much, so they managed to push it through. And when they decided to roll it out, we all know what happened. It took the intervention of the president of Ghana to come in and say, hey, hold down on this law because it's going to cause confusion. And second reason is to be in that position to assist Nanado and also assist the people that I represent. I think that I've got into that position in life where I have to give back to society what I got from society. And if I have given opportunity, I know that I can do well in that department and let people, at least upgrade the lives of people that I up to the best of my ability.
Okay. You made promises, I'm sure, on this campaign trail to convince people to vote for you. What are your priorities? And after that, I'll ask you, because I've seen a lot of comments coming through when I announced that you were coming today. Some had their own personal concerns that they want you as MP to push to have them change in the constituency. What first are your priority projects for the constituency in the first 4 years? In your administration?
My priorities listed in order would have education as the first one. Public education or public schools in Tema West, I would say, are nothing compared to what we used to have before. Growing up, we all went through the public school system. But when you put us and the international school people together, when we speak, you wouldn't find any difference. Today, it is not the same. When the public school students write this BEC, they're not able to even get 50% or 40%, some of them 30%, 35%. And you ask yourself why. The reason is simple. I think that we are not giving a lot of attention to the public school system, and that's somewhere that I'm going to actually enforce or channel my efforts towards.
So top of your list is education.
Education.
Okay, what else?
Now, the second one is women empowerment. It's an open knowledge that when women are okay or when women are very satisfied in a home, there's no fight, everything goes on well. It's also an open knowledge that in today's Ghana, many men, because of lack of jobs, they put these women in the family way and they abscond. A whole lot of women, a whole lot of households, you go there and ask kids, where is your dad? They say, we don't know our dad. Men can run away and leave their children. The women cannot run away and leave them. The women need some kind of support by way of getting something to us at work for their kids to eat. A woman can get about, let's say, 100 Ghana cedis and will sell charcoal in front of her house and the children will eat every day. Some of them even need 50 Ghana cedis to sell eggs at the station and the kids they can't get. So I am going to put myself in that position where we would, by virtue of the IPEP that Nana Akufo-Addo's government is bringing to the fore, we would empower women to also coexist and live very comfortably.
Mr. Akra, good ideas for education and women empowerment, but I'm surprised that the issue of robbery in Sakomono into Lashibi and close to Ashaiman, that stretch, is a big matter. And I say this because in run-up to the elections, we were there to do a couple of reports and check out what the big issues are for the people there. That plus the main road from Sakomono down to the Ashaiman underpass. This, for them, they say, are their two biggest priorities. Why aren't you talking about them?
Well, it's my priority too. Right? If you remember, I said if I put my priorities in order.
But for these two to be on top,
no, well,
that means that you deal with these two before you handle these two.
No, education. If you ask me any day, you hold my neck. Education will be number one.
Okay.
These could be number 3, number 4. Doesn't matter. But education will have to be number 1.
Okay.
Women empowerment has to be number 2. Now let's come to this robbery thing that you're talking about. It might interest you to know that Tema West, I would say, have probably the biggest infrastructure of what you call street lights on our roads. Yet, none of them comes on in the night. And the question is, whose responsibility is it to ensure that these lights come on? I'm sure it's the Metro Assembly. And if the Metro Assembly has an engineer, and the engineer will go to sleep in the night whilst we don't have lights and people pull up the women's bags on the street, then that is a source of worry, source of concern for me, and something I'm going to deal with immediately I get into office. How soon? Immediately I get into office. Every light that the government has used money to put up must light. Sometimes it's just the bulb. But I can't climb that thing and go and put the bulb because it's someone's job. We have an engineering department at the Metro Assembly. What are they doing? Somebody must be up and doing. At least when we have the whole place lighted up, then these robbers would actually take some precautions.
How soon will you light up the place? Give me timeline.
I am not going to light up the place. I will get Assembly to light up the place.
How soon?
As soon as I get into office.
No, when you say as soon as possible, that's no timeline.
Well, you see, I get inaugurated from the 7th of January. From 7th of January, just give me within a month.
1 month.
1 month.
The people in the constituency are watching.
I am going
After
to get
a month, we'll come back. And
I am going to get the Assembly to do their work. It is not my work, but I will get them to do their work.
Within a month.
Somebody must do it.
Sarkomon and Severance will be lighted up in 1 month.
It
Your
must.
promise.
You're putting it as if I am going to put the light. I am not.
You said you will ensure that the people who
I
have
am
to
going
do
to make
will
them,
do it
yes.
within 1 month.
Exactly.
I'm taking your word for it.
I am going to, within the first month of my stay in office,
Yes.
I am going to push them to put it up. If it is not up, then it means it's a problem beyond their control. But whatever the case is, within the certain time frame, every lamppost must light up.
1 month, and I heard you say that 1 month from January 7th. We'll check on that as well. But the other issue has to do with the road, and it's come up quite strongly. It said very, very bad roads are in your constituency. The main one they talk about is from the Sakumona stretch all the way down to the Ashaiman underpass. When is that also going to be?
It's a pity. Just this morning, I had a discussion with the MCE, and these are some of the discussions I had with him. What has happened in the past? Why, for the past 4 years that they've been on the seat, we haven't seen much in terms of rules and stuff like that. And he gave me a lot of explanations, which I thought was acceptable. But the fact still remains that the roads are bad. We need to do them. First, the road from the Nugua barrier to Klagong. If you remember, I'm sure some of your colleagues here will tell you that I got them to come around, and we showed it on TV, Joy News. I got a few other TV stations to come for us to show them on TV. Today, as I speak to you, it's being constructed. And I'm sure that if they should go the same way that they are going, within a couple of months, they should complete
How
that.
many months? You see, my focus has been on the road I just showed you. The Sakumona traffic light to the Ashaiman underpass.
Yeah.
Many people have been complaining about it. In fact, many have sent me messages in this regard.
I have been complaining too.
Okay,
That is
so-
my road.
okay.
And I am saying that ever since that Joy News came to show that road on TV, they have started constructing.
When are they going to finish?
I wouldn't know that.
How much time are you giving yourself to ensure that it's done?
Well, that would be going a bit overboard because
But you gave
I
us
am not
1
an
month
engineer.
for lights. Why can't I ask same for roads?
You see, the 1 month for light, you are just taking it out of context. I'm giving you 1 month to tackle those who are supposed to, work
ask
it.
them to do the
exactly.
job. Yeah, that's
So I'm not saying they will complete in 1 month. I am going to, within the first month, I'm going to ask them to get up and go.
You will
and do the
ensure
job.
they get it done.
Yes, that's whether they will do everything in 1 month. I can't control that.
Okay.
They have their timelines and they know what is wrong with what and what they are going to get and so on and so forth. But within the first month of my stay in office, I am going to make this a priority and push them to go and do the lights. That's what I'm trying to
That's
say.
for lights.
So don't push lights 1 month on my neck. Oh, Carlos is going to fix light within 1 month. No, there becomes a problem. Number two,
Why does it become a problem?
it becomes a problem because it's not coming out of my pocket. If it's coming out of my pocket, I write the budget. But if it's coming out of somebody else's pocket, you have to make sure that the funds are there before they write the budget out.
It's your incoming government, isn't it?
Well, yes, of course, but who knows what we are going to meet in the coffers?
Ooh.
You know what I mean? I mean, that's what the
All
problem
right, that's for the for the lights.
is. But
The
with,
roads is what I'm asking of now.
with the road, like I said, they are virtually through with one side, and they will come to the other side. I will not be able to give you timelines on
Would
that.
this be done by the time your 4 years is
I,
up?
I, by the time 4 years of if, like I said, if they go the same way or the same rate that they are going, within a very short time they should finish. Within a couple of months they should finish. If they are going the same rate, and I think that they have the funding, so they are going to complete it.
Okay, the other leg of your job will be to legislate in Ghana's parliament.
Yes.
What body of expertise are you bringing to help us pass better laws? And I say that bearing in mind the example you gave that didn't work. What are you bringing to the table?
Professionalism. I am a logistics person. I handle multimodal transport operation. When it comes to maritime, sea, when it comes to air, when it comes to road, when it comes to rail, and so on. That is what I do, inland waterway. That is what I do for a living. I've been working in this department for the past 25 years. If I am lucky to be giving a committee which oversees these departments,
Transport.
then you can be rest assured that anything that's going to come out of that committee will be professionally handled and will be implementable. We're not going to bring out anything or any laws which will just fall from the sky, but they will have that professional touch. I am bringing professionalism to the table.
Okay. And before you even walk in to begin the professionalism that you speak of, what will be your own assessment of the past 4 years of this parliament?
Well, I think that the last 4 years, this parliament hasn't enjoyed or hasn't churned out the kind of laws that one would have expected them to bring out, partly because MPP was in in the minority, serious minority, and a lot of the laws, they only have their say when the majority have their way. You would recall that there were laws that NDC decided to bring up that NDC had to work out. Some of them they voted against. As a majority of them they voted against.
You're saying the MPP is good at passing good laws?
Well,
Better laws.
well, you have to tell me that if
No,
if no,
I'm just drawing from what you just said.
if you compare our 8 years of governance to this last 8 years, you would tell me if we pass good laws or not. I mean, look at what happened when we passed the Public Procurement Act. There's not be anything like that within this last 8 years. But what happened? They tried to find a loophole in the law and act on that loophole by doing sole sourcing. And that, to me, that's a source of worry. You see, we try as much as possible to do things for Ghana, whilst others do it for them own selves and their pockets. MPP laws wouldn't come in that department. In fact, they won't come in that regard. We are going to bring laws which would inure to the benefit of Ghanaians and, of course, give us a certain reason to believe that those laws are going to help in developing our nation.
All right.
Yeah.
Mr. Anchor, thank you for coming today.
Thank you.
Just speak to the people who watched you this afternoon, especially from your constituency. What do you have to tell them today? You are hoping to get into Parliament by January 7. What do you have to tell them today?
Well, yes, just something little on this attacks and this fights that we hear. I think that it's not appropriate for anybody to attack anyone. If it is really true that it's MPP supporters that are doing this, causing this mayhem, then I will appeal to you to please eschew these acts. Our leader, Nana Akufo-Addo, is not somebody who would want to indulge in such kind of actions. And he has asked us to, remove that kind of life from, our body politic. We don't need to go beat somebody to establish ourselves as a superior party. Everybody knows in Ghana that we are that party, anybody has to reckon with. I don't want us to indulge in it, especially when I heard that in Tema, some MPP supporters have attacked the motorway toll booth and there was a problem there. I rushed there, but I didn't see anything of the sort. I think also that people are over, exaggerating. Let us, push some of these things together before we bring them out and mention them. I heard the NDC having a press conference today, and for me, I think that yes, they have a reason to come out and talk, but please, they should look into their own household first before they come out. Because this morning I heard Yamwa Ponko and Kofi Adams, throwing tantrums at each other. And the fight, I saw some video going on social media, that some guy was prepared to slap another NDC guy in their press conference, so on and so forth. The violence is coming from within. It could even happen, who knows, that probably those who are doing those things are not MPP people.
Okay, but we are all roundly condemning it. So,
yes,
you're saying we should look everywhere.
We should all look into ourselves, and also we would also look at our people and talk to them and ask them to eschew from such, activities.
Okay, Mr. Anchor, thank you for coming today.
Thank you.
He is the MP-elect for the Tama West constituency. Let's see what he does in the next 4 years. He's rolled out a number of promises. We only wish him well and hope that those targets are met. If it's not, the voters will head back to the polls to decide. Let's move on to other issues this afternoon here on the program. The La Nkwantanan Madina Municipal Assembly has topped the 2016 District League table. Chief Executive for the La Nkwantanan Madina Municipality, Franklin Anko, speaking at the launch of the league table in Accra today, attributed their success to hard work and teamwork of his staff. The league table is a social accountability tool used in measuring the performance of the 216 districts in terms of development and improving the well-being of citizens. There's more in this report.
On behalf of the Minister for Local Health and Rural Development, it is my honor and privilege to declare the 2016 District League table duly launched.
For the third time running, CDD Ghana, in partnership with UNICEF, have produced a district league table for all 216 districts in the country. The report focused on 6 key indicators, including health, education, sanitation, water, governance, and security. Chief Director of the Local Government Services Secretariat, Joseph Dasana, urged MMDAs to capitalize on the data provided by the DLT to advance development within their jurisdiction.
The league table will provide honorable assembly members, opinion leaders, chiefs, and civil societies to ask questions on how their districts are faring. The resulting awareness will generate further healthy competition and lead to improved service delivery. It is on this score that we urge all municipal, metro, and district assemblies to take advantage of this arrangement and use the data available to promote improved services to the people.
The Lanquantanan Madina Municipal Assembly came up tops on this year's league table with 77.8 points, whereas the Tema Metropolitan Assembly followed closely with 77.6 to place second. Goma West District, which came last in 2015, traded their position to North Tong in the Volta region. Even though Wa East placed 49th, it was adjudged the most improved district. Chief Executive for the Lanquantanan Madina Municipal Assembly attributed their success to the hard work of his staff.
Spoken about. We are actually working in that direction. We're supporting them. And that is why you cannot get any other place in Lanquantanan Madina Municipality to defecate. So as simple put, it is teamwork and good leadership. I want to use this opportunity to dedicate this first rank to the entire staff of Lanquantanan Madina Municipal Assembly. Thank you.
Research Officer at the CDD, Mohammed Awal, has called on the government-elect to adapt its reports if it is key on promoting development at the district level.
For us, over time, we hope that at some point the central government will listen. Now we have a new government that will soon come in place. If you look at the MPP, it sort of talks about a lot of things that it seeks to do in its manifesto relative to decentralization.
Ernest Menu for Joy News.
Now, joining me now for more on this is the research officer at the Center for Democratic Development, Mohammed Awal. Mr. Awal, thank you for coming today.
Thank you for your
Now, let's first look at the indicators. What informed your choice of the 6?
So, thank you very much. What we sought to do was to look at essentially indicators that speaks to people's well-being, right? Education is important, water is important, health is important. We thought that governance generally is also important, security is also important. So, it is because these sectors, these services are important to our lives that we thought that it was important for us to focus more attention on it. But also more importantly, the data is available, that across all 216 districts, you can within these sectors find an indicator that allows you to see a snapshot of how these services are delivered at the local level. So these are some of the considerations that went into our choice of the indicators.
Okay, now how accurately does it measure the performance of these districts?
I don't know what comes to your mind when you say accurately. What we use is not a survey. We use administrative data. That generally there are MMDAs that provide these services. That when we read our budget, we have an education sector, we have allied agencies in the education sector, and they provide these services. When they do provide these services, they also have a data about how they are providing these services. It is that data that we rely on. So we go to pick that data, and then we try to look into that data to see across all our districts, how are we providing services for our citizens across all of our districts. So to that extent, to the extent that it's an official data that is published by the government, by the state, then I think that it reflects, if you look at the data, it reflects what really is on the ground. Unless there is evidence to say that the data that we use for a particular district is not really what is captured in the national data set, then we can have a discussion about how the process by which we collate and publicize our own national data sets relative to these key sectors that we chose to assess the state of development across our 216 districts.
Okay, and I ask this question because every time the league table comes out, there's a lot of apprehension, especially for those who lay either last or the very last part of the table. It creates a lot of apprehension, especially for you, the body that does the research. Do you know why?
I think that there is a certain lack of understanding about the process itself.
But have you explained it well enough to the people
we have
for them to understand it and appreciate it?
So we have. So for example, since 2014 when we started this process, we started pre-launch engagement. For example, for this time around, from October to November, we went through all the 10 regions in Ghana where we met all key bureaucrats at the local level to explain to them what the process is about, what the data, how we collect the data, and how we do the ranking. And so for us, a lot of the time, the issue that comes up is the idea of a league, right? Putting districts in the league, and the misconception that what we are doing is necessarily assessing district assemblies. We are not assessing district assemblies. We are assessing the geographical area and the inhabitant within that geographical area. The assembly is one of the institutions that we assess relative to how it provides services.
But who runs the district? It's the assembly, isn't it?
That's what I'm saying. We assess the assembly, but not the district, right? We use our FWAT system to assess the functioning capacity of the assemblies itself. But what we are saying is that our focus is on citizens wherever at all they live in whatever at all geographical area we call Ghana. So let's assume Ghana is one geographical area. The understanding is that the state is supposed to provide basic service to every citizen wherever at all they live. What the state hopes to do to be able to achieve that is to say, I cannot be a state in Accra. Let me decentralize both policy, both resource allocation space down to the district level where really you can see governance and development closer to people. And so you establish district assemblies for them to carry out the state. So district assemblies are just a small part of the state in a certain small geographical area. But the problem is that anytime we launch this, the bureaucrat in the assembly thinks that it's an assessment of their work, right? I don't have a problem with that, but they do have a problem with it. Because if you look at the decentralization law, both the Constitution and the Act itself, it talks about the functions of the district assembly. It says the district assembly is the overall governing institution that provides development at the local level. And so it's right for us to do that kind of assessment. But our focus essentially is on citizens. To what extent is the state of Ghana, and by extension, our district assemblies are able to provide services, and all allied agencies that constitute the governance structure at the local level are providing services for our citizens.
In that vein, then I need to ask, let's start from the bottom before we go to the top. Not Tong District,
Yes.
bottom of the table. What did they do wrong? What did they get wrong?
That is what the data says to us.
What does it say to you?
When we pick out the BEC pass rate for all the 4 core subjects, North Tong scores about 52%. So for all pupils who actually sat for the exams, only about half of them pass the BEC core subjects that we have. When we took the area around skilled delivery, where for every expectant mother who goes into delivery, there is a skilled person to take care of it. About 48% are able to have access to a skilled person to attend to them. When you take sanitation, which we essentially look at communities that in this have been certified to be open defecation free, for North Tong we could not find any, per the data that we have from the Environmental Sanitation Agency under the Ministry of Local Government. There is no any community that has really been certified to be open defecation free. When you take governance, obviously the performance measures that we use to assess the functioning capacity of a district, they actually did well. So when you aggregate all this and you divide it by the 6 indicators, they have 46%, 41%. And the average for the nation is 59%. And so that's how we used to rank it. And that is what the data says to us. So the question then becomes for us is whether is it a problem of inequities in the distribution of resources, for example? Is it the case that some North Tong is not receiving the necessary resources that it's supposed to receive?
Okay.
Is it a question about leadership, for example? Is it the case that traditionally we know that from history that there are certain geographical areas in Ghana where development is challenged? The Terrain Northern regions, Volta region, some part of Central region. Is it the case that North Tong happens to be located at a geographical area where traditionally in Ghana we know poverty is very high, and for that matter it's reflected in these kinds of data? So there are a number of reasons that may account for why service delivery, as per what the data is telling us, may be the case for North Tong.
Okay, and just a footnote. That district is where the Deputy Education Minister, Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, comes from. So that's just a footnote to bear in mind. Let's talk about the one at the top, the one who performed best in your league, the Lankwantanan. What did they do right? What was their success story?
Their success story relates to the fact that apart from sanitation, all the marks they've had, if it is in education, in terms of the core passes in the 4 BEC, they are in the 90s, 92%. If it is in health, there's 86%. If it is in the area of security, they are up there in the 90s. Citizen to police to citizen ratio, the numbers quite look very good for them, and so on and so forth. So for them also, the same thing, the same data we use says to us that on the face of it, And the data, as I said initially, it's not from us. We didn't do any survey. We went to the Ghana Education Service and said, give us the certified data on BECE pass rate for 4 core subjects. And we just find the average for these 4 and see where or the Lanquantana, for example, stays. And for all the indicators, that's what we did. And so that's what the data is saying to us.
But again, Mr. Wow, you look at the 2 examples here, Nortong, Lanquantana. One is a very predominantly urban settlement. Nortong is not. So you can understand the disparity, isn't it?
I can understand it in the sense that that is what you want me to understand it. But there are broad principles. The principle is that wherever at all every citizen lives, the state must be able to provide basic services. The question we ask through the DLT is that, is our state able to provide basic services for all citizens of Ghana, irrespective of the geographical area where they live?
The answer is no, isn't it?
The answer is no, based upon the data that we have. So it's not a question about rural, urban. So that's the fact that I live in a rural area, I should not have access to education. That somebody who lives in Lanquantana should have a better education than I. There is inequality in the system there, and we know how dangerous inequality is for every society. And so it's important for us to stop making these kinds of argument. That fact that, oh, you are urban, I am rural. So does that mean that if you are rural, the state must not reach you? But there's a district assembly. There is all those principles, there's all those resource allocations that is made so that the state is able to touch every citizen relative to basic service provision. For us, that is the focus.
Okay.
Is the Ghanaian state able to meet every citizen of Ghana and provide him or her a basic service? That wherever I live, so that I don't have to rush and come to Lanquantana and come and live. I'm from KJB in the Volta region. I want to be in KJB and have the same access to basic services that anybody in Accra has. That is how you build a society.
That would be a state of utopia, isn't it?
It doesn't have to be. There may be, the question is that it's basic. I'm not saying that it starts to be in the manner that everybody has it. If you have it, that's good for all of us. But if you don't, at least there has to be a certain appreciable level by which the state can meet us, such that at least, basically, all of us can be able to be sure, so that I don't have to be running away. And that's we've been talking about migration, right? Internal migration, where people rush from the northern region and come to Accra for basic services and so on and so on. There's a lot of concentration in the urban areas. Is that the kind of state that we want to have? I don't think so. There's a lot of slumization because you are not managing urbanization properly.
And that must change.
That must change.
Okay. Now, you talk about the incoming administration adopting your report. Why?
What I've said is that when we did our report, a lot of the things we found out is that the manner in which we are doing decentralization is problematic.
Okay.
Right? And so if the MPP, by virtue of what he has said in its manifesto, should look into our report quite clearly and identify what really are the problems why some citizens in some geographical areas are not being reached by the state in terms of basic service provision, and see what it can do to deepen the capacity of both our local bureaucrats at the local level to have both policy and resource allocation autonomy, because that's what they tell us. That when we go to many of these, they say, look, decisions are made in Accra. I don't have the space to make any decision, but I'm here with the people and I see what they go through. We need to deepen decentralization in such a manner that the bureaucrat at the local level have space for both policy and resource allocation, and is able to do so. And so they've talked about 1 million for every district, 1 factory for every district, all of it. For example, if they are able to implement it in the manner that they've talked about, they've also talked about election of DCs to bring a lot more accountability in the local governance system. If they are able to do so, and they look into our true report, it will give them a sense of agency for them to be able to do
and do the right targeting as well.
Yes,
okay.
yes.
Mr. Awa, thank you for coming today. Thank you so much for helping us understand the district league table and what it means for our development. Thank you, sir, for coming. We'll go for a short break now. When we come back, we will delve into a certain matter cropping up in a part of Accra, Abossey Okai. It looks as though you may be getting 30% less for a spare part you may buy. We'll tell you why after the break. Stay with us. You're still watching The Pulse on the Joy News channel on Multi TV. Often when there is an election, the markets react. For Donald Trump of America, there was a shock wave, and it shook the world markets. But we are beginning to look at a very interesting turn for our own picture here in Ghana. We're learning in the last hour that the prices of spare parts at the Abossey Okai market have reduced by at least 30%. Too good to be true? Well, I thought so too. But Kuku Aban in the following report will help us understand why in greater detail.
We are currently at the Abossey Okai spare parts market, where we understand prices of their products here have been reduced drastically following the election of the New Patriotic Party into office for the year 2017. And I have a driver who tells me he's bought a fuel pump this morning, which has been reduced for him. Let's find out from him exactly by how much. Good morning.
Good morning.
Pacho,
you're from Yawasari.
Yawasari. Now, what's the fuel pump in it?
To fuel pump in the last week in a say. Last week in Bay, almost for 3.5. I'm a 2 boss, and then I'm going to put them and I do winning a Bay over the man 2 million. To me, the said another so winning. In Paya Bonus and another Bay, I was so coming to be as my, I was so for more bread. Yeah, by so driver for so you've been told from Korea. And another Bay, say, I never to swim in Zabas, if I saw for more.
I didn't know I'm sure Matiso.
Some said another about. Another about so you made them what we said and also do our Sabano. No more Bro Harbor Honum. Another about so the Mati be as summer. I'm a be also as you want to and so you be see diameter, I never promote them. Then another a young man, Yabano, then another Nabo, a young man in Abagana.
Say, would you say, Bia, obey here, we are over how much it was swammer and I said, pumping and quantum.
The Bayan Bia, a GDSM to a better summer. Naman Quampum, now for the Bisacotadi, almost in your company. If you know your more companies are. No more shadow, no, yes, I said a bear by Bacono, Edin Bessa, and I said, no more shadow, Babacono, don't know your friends, or dear or more bibini. While I didn't know man, no man boy, and tell so come for some so called Bonoma, Omunian easy. And it's a man about and now Babacono, Monet Modin. I did not do Nabano, and Omunia, Domotomo, yes, said another to better to the Masunama, about to Mansamo.
So you just had a taxi driver tell us that a fuel pump which was going for 350 last week is now going for 200 Ghana cedis. Let's enter this system's shop and find out also what the situation is like over here. Minya, me watching.
Me just about pani.
Number 12 frozen.
About your friend Philip Odey.
Okay, me also on card tapes ni speakers ni ade wa ha. Business is saying.
Business boko.
You drive a big car see our fuel pump or toy or say 350 cedis na no ton last week and now turn 200 cedis. Also near my ha it is saying.
Me patch us at pepe. Emra ye two abana ye decree and ye bunny for me at say. And now I'm saying I never tax in the back form. And say any man, near the might to say 500 Ghana cedis. Say on base issue at the amount to say 4.5. Send a bear as you beat me out on and so and Sakoyano. And they say, no one cost you was so kind. Oh, her machine Kitamia, and one can coffee first no to make 500 Ghana cedi. They say, I'm the 450. Send a bear, I'll be to Banam and Toman at the end of the day, 500. I'm many interest of 50 Ghana. And say, no one cost you was so kind. Near Bon Pie and they say, tax no any duty never back for me, sending a penny for me to me all the time. No matter how many man about yes, you be at home. And no, I yesterday, Uncle Ponce, Emblasso.
Okay, it is a say, when now, so not first 500, so many more 450. Into also ton is basic.
Me patch some of them 450 now. You better on 500 they say because first you know some of them 500 it mean turn 500 now. I see a turn 550 and upwards. See I be to say security system we alarm. We say yateso. First near turn 150. Normally the supplier 120. Near turn 150. But they say all of them 80 cedis. And they say a turn 100 cedis. And I yes we so we a friend tinted flame. We only say in the first normally them 7 cedis. Near turn 10 cedis. But they say normally may 5 cedis, near turn 7 cedis.
Wow. Indeed, now just as near mana pots no duties no enyama form. Na mo titis we say moka.
Okay, they see ane there, yeah no, and panifona kofa near money bano. Price of the man.
Okay, our next stop is a lamps shop, and here also we understand the prices have been reduced quite drastically. And this gentleman here is the owner of the shop. He tells me he's called Osei. Osei.
Oh, yeah. Business so far you look at crack.
Yes, I'm to say prices.
I know correct because normally before not it all head and call, but another bar every new year, you know. You say Niama started coca crack. A month for the energy SRT pick a crack. Until I receive say Onya at Sansuya be a becoya my.
Now, usually, it's a business that is a cool year and for to 2 years, said the Bayomina profit near the Namodi Esimo to Tiswadi.
The reason why I say, Niamano, yeah, just on Kakrani, whereby you did you than I do say dollar rate, you know, a subetia mine. You better on your money, rest at the sense cano, and cost resubeti. Nti say ya just ne man se be ya atofo Ghana for ho be han om so betumi ato de mana mayen
na no ye gidi a wo ba de ne nyansiye I don't know
MPP abaya ye wo gidi o mu because anya mo first time ni o ma ye bia me hu nti ye wo ye gidi ni wo soro pa se gidi na ye nya ma o ma ye de to aba mo no o me ma ne ma akoyi amayen
ni mani ma na se be bo mo kakakra.
Oh, but no problem because see, I'm for skinny. nti woka se wo yire nneɛma no bebree a ne tɔ no bɛyɛ den ɛna first no before so bɛtɔn nneɛma no bɛwie ne dollar rate no so kɔ soro but te sɛ wɔgyidie wɔ MPP mu sɛ nkɔpem bɛyɛ sɛ February ending March hɔ no dollar no ɛbɛba fam kakra man
ebi mo so nsɛm a mo ka ne sɛ ɛnea mo hyɛ da mia aban baako no mo hyɛ da ato nneɛma mu sɛ de bɛyɛ a asetena no bɛyɛ din ama nkurɔfoɔ na yɛyi aban no afiri so mo hyɛ da pa na mo yɛ
ɛnyɛ nokware da obi a ɔbɛka saa bi ɛdaadaa wo but deɛ ɛteɛ ne sɛ aban baako ɔtwa mu kɔɔ yi before say for say bia ko ato dollar 4 cedi before say obeton ne ma ne bewi akoto dollar na e ko be 4 cedi 50 pesos na 45 asem ka de make no tiase enti tem bia na say wo hwe se be ya obewie ni ska wo de koe no nsa betimi asan ka ne back enya sa wan hwe ya wo de $20 na ko kwan so obewi abeko se ska na eso ati about 15,000 de make no tiase but MPP e wo gidie o mu because o ma ye bia me yehu
enti we na igina gidie so
sa o hwe Ghana fo aba o tuma MPP a utim say omani nyina o gidi o mu on start adwuma but I say ade so bia fie kon mu so te ase renta ma obi a joso ne ma se be ya market no be ko kakra
okay enemy that say
enye nokware ya joso kakra se be ya tofo no betimi ato na ye nso e kon ma ha yen
cheche mami kakra nti what is so be sen
oh kakra
Tell me mun pese mi hu se bia kania ba ko yesen
ade bia na meton 60 Ghana no me dey about 50 Ghana de make no be 10 cedi bia fi so
na kania we yesen
oh we TD new latest type no first nka 200 but see how my 15 for beje
first name 200
you say my 15 for beje
okay na just say 50
because the reason why nti akoba na sa no e bi obi be ka say bia na because of abai background years are no ntisa because medical catcher say first no before say we beton ade no wan hwe ya wo discover so ansa na wanya sika no
okay Midasipi now I've been joined by another man. He's also called Osei and bacho chechemu kakra wo ton de
me ton light in the same thing
you sell the same lights but this is not your shop
no
your shop is where
yeah
the one behind us.
Yeah.
Okay. And you've also reduced your prices?
Considerably.
Explain to me why.
Yeah, simply because we know definitely well that the dollar rate will not come down. And the business that we are doing will rely on the dollar. If you want to import something, we have to use the dollar to import, not our CD. And we realized that, or when this government came into power, the dollar started rising, galloping, so that our business really became stagnant. Prices increased, and we were not even getting customers even to come and buy, simply because our goods were very expensive. Yeah.
Okay, so now you've reduced by like how much?
We have reduced around 30%. 30% reduction, simply because we know that the dollar will, by next year, the dollar will fall. And if the dollar falls, the prices will come down. The exchange rate will go down, and then our business will flourish.
That's the belief you have.
That is the belief we have. They've done it before. They've done it before. When they came to power, the year 2000 to 2000, during Kufuor's regime, we realized that the dollar even became stagnant. 1 cedi to $1 to 1 cedi 20 pesos. But all of a sudden, when they came to power, it rose considerably to 4 cedis and some pesos. I think you are all in Ghana here, and you bear me witness of what has really happened to we the Ghanaians, especially with the businessmen. We were crying, but the government was not even listening to our pleas. That is the reason why prices became so expensive that people coming to the market cannot even afford to buy. So that is the reason why now we reduce the prices so that at least we shall get market. And by next year, once they've promised us that at least they are coming to help with the businessmen, I know for sure that the dollar will reduce considerably. So and everybody will be okay now.
So this has nothing to do with sabotage
at all,
of
at all. The government who has just even been overthrown, or as I may put
voted
it,
out.
voted out, he was aware of what was actually happening to us, but he never stick to our advice, or he just turned a deaf ear to our pleas. And that is the reason why prices became so exorbitant that people cannot even afford to buy.
But the hope you have is that the economy is going to improve. The exchange rate is going to be better, dollar is going to drop, taxes are going to be removed and some reduced and so on. It hasn't happened, so why not wait?
Already I've told you that they came to power during the time 2000 and 2008. We are all aware of what happened in Ghana here. I think every prices were so low. But now, even if you go to market where we sell foodstuffs, you will see the difference. Rice was, I think, 320 cedis or so. But now, it's about 120, even half bag of rice. It's about 120. So things have actually quadrupled. The prices of goods have quadrupled. And that is the reason why we are suffering. And I know for sure that if this government who has now come in power will make the prices of the dollar will go down considerably, and prices may even become even stagnant. It won't rise up as it used to be. So that is the reason why we are optimistic that this man would, the man voted in power, will do more than even we are expecting.
And what has been the response after reducing the price?
Oh, people have now started buying the goods simply because we've reduced the price. Initially, when they came, you give them the price, they say, no, I cannot afford because it's expensive. Now that we've reduced it, now they can afford to buy. So that is why now I think market is now okay.
So you're enjoying some economics.
That's it.
Reduced prices any day of goods and services is good news for consumers. But for these traders, the hope and the faith is that the incoming administration is going to actually keep the promise of reducing taxes and as well maintaining the stability of the local currency. That is yet to be seen. That's next year, 2017. From the Abossey Okan Spare Parts Market, I am Kuku Aban for Joy Business.